Welcome to Modern Tactical Shooting. Now in this video, I want to talk about tactical pistol reloads. Not necessarily a video on how to conduct a tactical reload. There are plenty of great videos out there that break down how to actually execute the different styles or methods of doing a tactical reload. In this video, I want to specifically address which tactical reload I think works best under real world conditions, and additionally, how the tactical reload is taught generally within the tactical shooting community. So let's get into it right now. So the first technique, and probably the most well-known technique, I'll call it the classic method. And that has the shooter midway through the engagement, support hand goes to a fresh mag, you do a swap at the pistol, insert the fresh mag, retain the partial, back to a mag pouch for later use. That is the classic method. Then there is the pocket method, or the mag first out method, and that is you're engaging, go ahead, take the mag out, stow it in a pocket or dump pouch, retrieve a fresh, and get back on the gun as needed. That is, I call it the mag out first method, or again, the pocket or the dump pouch version. Those are probably the two most widely known methods of conducting a tactical reload. So let's break these down and get into which one I think is better and why I think one is better right now. So I'm going to say it up front right now, the mag out first version, or the pocket method, hands down is the fastest method in conducting a tactical reload. I spent about 2 days out in the range, if you check out these clips right here, doing nothing but practicing tactical reloads for time against the pro timer. And no matter how many times I did it, the mag out first version, which again has you going mag out, two pocket or dump pouch, and mag in, one out every time. And why is that? Is because of lack of practice with the classic method. And if you notice in some of the clips while I'm doing the classic method, during the swap process, I have trouble finding the mag pouch, and I have to look down in the middle of that live fire environment. So that slowed me down a little bit, and you could say, okay, Jeff, you need to practice the classic method more so you can find your mag pouch after the swap. But really, that's not what slowed me down. What slowed me down in doing the classic method is it requires an extra arm movement. And what do I mean by that? Well, to do the classic method, you go support hand to magazine, support hand with the magazine up to the gun, you do the swap, and then your support hand has to go back to your belt to stow that magazine. That's 3 major arm movements. If we break down the mag first method, take the mag out, that's 1 arm movement. You retrieve the fresh magazine, that's a 2nd arm movement, and you're done. So no matter what, there's an extra arm movement in doing the classic method. And it requires the most dexterity. To do that little swap at the pistol, the swap right here, that doesn't really slow you down, and I'm not one of those people where I believe that you lose loss of fine motor skills in a life or death situation. If you've done some proper training, your training will overcome that. You don't become a window-licking caveman at the first sign of danger and lose all loss of fine motor skills. With 0 training, yes, that can happen. But if you built up that so-called muscle memory, for lack of a better term, you're going to be automatic under stress, and that's why you need to practice and train. So I don't knock the classic method because it's a high dexterity movement, doing the swap at the gun. That's, again, I'm not knocking it for that. I'm knocking it because it's the slowest method. And I think when it comes to doing a tactical reload, the priority always should be on loading your gun and getting it back into the fight as quick as possible, not practicing to emphasize retaining that partial magazine. That should not be the emphasis. So getting the gun into the fight as fast as possible. If you drop magazines, you leave them on the ground, or whether they're partials or spent, well, you can always get those as time allows. You should be focusing on neutralizing that threat first. Now, a few years ago, I was really big into IDPA. I made master in IDPA. I went to the nationals one year. I got crushed because I was a new master. But IDPA, the sport's built around doing reloads with retention. That's another term really for a tactical reload, is holding on to that partial in case you need to use it later. So one would think, hey, the classic method is the preferred method. Well, actually, no. To get at a high level, to get super fast scores, you're going to see high-level IDPA shooters do the mag out to the pocket first method. That's where I really saw it being employed a lot. Because again, it's simpler and it's faster. And in these video clips right here, I even try it moving on the flat range. I do it multiple times to see which one I conduct the fastest while moving. And again, going mag out first wins. Now, I know some people think, well, hey, Jeff, again, it's still all about practice. That's true to some point. And I'll say this, there are some training scars you can get from working solely on the flat range and getting that false confidence. I think when it comes to the classic tactical reload, that is one of them. Sure, just about anybody can get really good and smooth on a perfectly tabletop flat range in broad daylight where you can see what you're doing standing still. Sure, we can all get to a high level of doing a classic tactical reload. But what about in a true tactical scenario? You're working with a team where you may not be moving at your own comfortable speed. You might have to keep up with a number one man. It's at night, it's over uneven, broken terrain. Well, then you're sitting there trying to do this, say under nods, in the dark, under all those different conditions, and this can become exponentially harder. So again, that's where I think because it's a high dexterity move, it can cause problems in real world tactical scenarios because we get that false confidence of being able to do it standing still in the flat range. So again, the simpler to me is always better. This is major muscle movements. Again, it's one movement fewer than the classic method. So it's simpler and faster in my mind. And that's why I prefer really the mag out. But let's talk about a hybrid method where we combine a little bit of the two. Real quick from Multitasker, I'd like to talk about the Nano line of micro tools. Now the Nano 1 has multiple flat tip screwdriver edges and the adjustment tool needed for your aim point H1 and T1. And the new Nano 2 has the adjustment tool needed for your Engel IR and visible laser. It works with the aim point acro and works with several hollow sun optics. Now, what's real nifty about the Nano line of tools is there are multiple mounting solutions for these tools. Right here, you can see they even fit in the back of the current generation MagPod base pad. They just clip right in and you can use a little bullet tip to undo it and it just pops right out and then slides back in. So you can have one stored near your gun, or even better, there's also a rifle mount where you can clip this into, and even a sling mount that's going to be offered for these Nano tools. Now, if you want to know more about the Nano 1 and the Nano 2, I'm going to put a link down in the description. So what about a hybrid method? And that is starting out with the classic method, doing the swap at the gun, and instead of my case having to slow down a little bit to find that mag pouch, I go straight to the pocket because it's a lot simpler and smoother, or to the dump pouch. Well, again, in these clips here, if you watch on the Pro Timer, I'm still faster using the classic mag out first to pocket or dump pouch method. And just to touch on again, me having to slow down to find my mag pouch. Again, I could do a lot more practicing and get smoother with the classic method, but I'd rather work on other things. To me, working and having a fast speed reload when my gun is completely empty, that's something I'd rather practice over tactical reloads, because my gun being completely empty is a lot more detrimental to me surviving the fight. So I'd rather work on blazing fast slide lock reloads than tactical reloads. And honestly, when it comes to the classic method of the tactical reload, to me, it's an admin reload. When I'm on the flat range between drills, when I'm teaching classes or I'm waiting around between shooting drills, you'll see me do this a lot. You'll see me do the classic method just because, it's something convenient to do, but again, under pressure, I find it a little bit harder. I think the key is learn all the different ways to perform a tactical reload, and you're naturally going to be drawn to the one that comes the most natural to you. The classic method might become your go-to. I just still find, due to anecdotal evidence, and that is the pro timer, the mag out first version is faster, really, no matter what you have to do. But by all means, practice all the different types. It can't hurt to be proficient in all the different ways to tactically reload your gun to retain those mags and get your gun back up. So yes, I prefer the mag out first. I've employed it in real world scenarios, but again, can't emphasize enough, practice all the different types, and whichever one comes the most natural to you, make that your go-to. Now, another, I'll say, issue with the tactical reload I want to talk about is how the tactical reload is generally taught and what I hear most. And that is, how do you know when to perform a tactical reload? Well, you wait for a lull in the fight, a lull in the fire, and you perform that tactical reload. But what is a lull? Well, they'll say when there's no rounds. Well, is a lull, I'm not shooting at them because I've defeated them? Is a lull, they stop shooting at me because I think I suppressed them, but they're actually maneuvering on me and I'm stuck right here doing a attack reload when the enemy could be coming up on me? Really, what is a lull? It's not defined enough. And if you talk to any combat soldier that served in Afghanistan, or really any theater of combat, some of these firefights in a team environment can last hours of just continuous back and forth shooting at friendly and enemy forces. There could be literally no textbook lull, meaning no shooting whatsoever. A lull is not defined enough. You're waiting on the enemy's actions to make a lull. It may be your actions. Again, it's not defined. I prefer the terrain method of defining when a tactical reload is. And what do I mean by terrain method? That is, you set a terrain feature, and that is where you do your tactical reload. And the terrain feature you set is before you go into the next unknown. That's how I've always thought. Before I go into the next unknown of, say, crossing a hall and going into another room, or I finish clearing a building, before I cross the street into that next building, which is an unknown, I'm going to perform a tactical reload. So it's based off a major terrain feature. Outside, that is before crossing a street, before you crest a hill if you've done any shooting, before you cross an open area to see what's on the other side. The other side, that's the unknown. Well, that's when you do the reload, before the unknown and a major terrain feature. Inside, before you cross a hall, before you change floors and go up or down a stairwell, before you go to that next floor, you conduct a tactical reload. Back in SF, a common method, if you're shooting in every room, is you pick, okay, every 3 rooms or every 4 rooms, I'll perform a tactical reload. So it's based on the number of rooms, which works good as long as when you're with the team, not everybody is tactically reloading all at the same time in the same room. But again, it's based off of terrain feature, as opposed to waiting for a lull that may or may not happen. Again, it's just not defined enough. So I say pick a terrain feature and it will start to become automatic when you start practicing it. It'll become natural. Before you cross that road in an urban area, you'll think, oh, tactical reload, I'm crossing the street. My most favorite picture, the one that's floating around the internet the most, is this picture right here. This is from my last tour, Logar 2015. A buddy took this photo. Right behind me, I don't know if you can see it in the photo, my team leader is doing a little command huddle with the Afghan commandos, and we're deciding if we should continually clear this village. We had just pushed the enemy out of a village. I believe I'm on the north end of the street, and if you notice, my magazine is half full. That's because I had not done a tactical reload yet, because I had yet to cross that street. We're planning our next move. As it turned out that day, that was our limit of advance, but I believe right after that photo was taken and we just were deciding on our next move, that's when I did my tactical reload before going into the next unknown, even I was returning to base. So I can't emphasize enough the terrain feature method of making sure you got a tactical reload in, you topped off your gun prior to going into that unknown, as opposed to waiting for a lull that may or may not happen, may not be defined enough to be able to tell when you need to do that reload. Now, one last thing with regards to tactical reloads, whichever method you choose to go with, along with practicing reloading while on the move, is you should be incorporating the use of cover when performing a tactical reload if it's available. So there it is, tactical reloads with the pistol, but hey, don't take my word for it. Go out, hit the range, get a pro timer, do the different types of tactical reloads, static and moving. Don't just try one method, static shooting, and think, hey, this is my go-to. You need to test all these under as many different circumstances as you can. So go out, hit the range, and try the tactical reload. But as always, I'm Jeff Gerwich. Thanks for watching.